3 years into our marriage, I deliberately discovered my husband's chat history with someone else. Listen to me, sis. I'll get rid of the baby and you can return to your family. Later, the private investigator I hired informed me that woman also had a husband. One late night, I confronted that man. Hello. Your wife is carrying my husband's child. What should we do now? The man scoffed, joking bitterly, then why don't you carry mine too? I saw Ed off as usual. But seconds later, he reopened the door to pull me into an embrace. I really don't want to go to work. Just want to stay with my wife. His lips brushed my forehead. The moment Ed left, my smile vanished. In the cafe, the investigator slid an envelope across the table. Given the urgency, I only got basic info, but it's enough. The woman was Lily, 3 years older than Ed. The photo showed her with a low ponytail, draped in white shawl and black velvet dress. Every gesture oozing charm. Their lower bodies pressed close. Lily also has a husband, the investigator awkwardly added. Could this be a mistake? The baby might not be your husband's. Ed's call interrupted us. Sweetheart, you mentioned insomnia last night. I woke early to make chicken soup with calming herbs. It should be ready now. Drink plenty and don't overwork yourself at home. His tender, mother hen tone mocked reality. Who'd believe the ice-cold corporate titan would cook over his wife's sleeplessness? I nearly screamed through the phone. Demanded how he could impregnate another while playing doting husband. Our 3rd anniversary had been a week prior. I'd worn perfume. He'd left work early. Yet that night, his enthusiasm felt forced. Too tired from work? I'd asked. Ed nuzzled my lips. Never too tired for husbandly duties. Minutes later, holding the ultra-thin 0.33 condom, I suggested maybe skip it. A flicker of unease crossed his face, gone before I could dissect it. Afterward, cooling sweat clung to my skin as I lay gasping in darkness. Something felt off. Ed had performed. Like compensating for wrongdoing? I seized his phone from the nightstand. Exhausted. He didn't stir as I unlocked it with his fingerprint. 3 minutes. That's all it took to uncover everything. My trembling hands scrolled through their messages. Send me money. Why? For the abortion. The sender's text stripped with petulant entitlement. We disagreed about children. Ed wanted to be child-free. I didn't, making contraception crucial. Now I understood his discomfort when I'd asked about protection. Older messages spanned a year. She called him good little brother. Edward Harper. As the eldest child in the Harper family, this might have been the first time anyone addressed him that way. He found it unexpectedly endearing. Edward started trailing after Lillian Morrison like an eager puppy, playfully calling her sis. Gradually, their mutual attraction crossed dangerous boundaries. What perfume did you wear today, sis? It's making my heart race. Something special for you, Ilong Seong. I scrolled through Lily's social media posts. Little brothers are the best, so eager to please you everywhere. Accidentally bit his lip too hard. But he still brought me homemade soup because he worried. So sweet. Memories flooded back. A week ago, Ed returned from a business trip in the South with cracked lips. He'd blamed the dry climate. And I dutifully brewed herbal tea. The final message between them burned behind my eyelids. Listen to me, Ed. I'll terminate the pregnancy. You return to your family. This was wrong from the start. Never contact me again. No. I forbid it. You can't leave my world. Even through text. I felt the desperation in Ed's words, the scorching panic of impending loss. My knuckles whitened around the phone. Rage and betrayal coiled in my chest like ignited gasoline. Screaming for release. I wanted to hurl the device at his face. To shriek accusations. Yet cold rationality anchored me. Not yet. My stifled breathing must have disturbed him. My husband stirred in the darkness. Abby? What's wrong? The phone's faint glow illuminated my expressionless face. Nothing. Can't sleep. His arms encircled me with practiced tenderness. My fault for not tiring you out properly. The familiar embrace felt foreign now. Within moments, his breathing deepened again. Ed had always been insatiable. Since his startup flourished, the pressure magnified and his nightly demands intensified. Sometimes his roughness reduced me to tears. I remembered our first meeting at freshman orientation. The campus heartthrob had trembled when our eyes met. Ears burning crimson. He'd mumbled at his shoes. Earning classmates teasing, looks like love at first sight. He'd pursued me relentlessly through college. Edward Harper loved me. I loved him. That's why I recognized the change immediately. The car heater blasted as the detective's call came through. Apologies. MS. Carter. Correction, Lily and your husband have known each other approximately 3 years. Ice crystallized in my veins. The attached photo showed a younger Ed in graduation suit, fervently kissing Lily against lecture hall bricks. Sunlight streamed through the car window. Yet I couldn't stop shivering. During my senior year of college, after a petty argument led me to impulsively break up with him, I quietly returned to the North without telling anyone. Edward Harper had been in the early stages of launching his startup at the time. He abandoned his project overnight and rushed to my hometown. When I arrived home, I found him shivering in his suit and tie under the bitter northern wind, a carpet of extinguished cigarette butts at his feet. The moment he saw me, Ed lunged forward to embrace me, his voice trembling. Abby, let's not do this. If you hate long distance, I'll build my life where you are. I'll relocate the entire company north. He collapsed from hypothermia before finishing his sentence. Neighbors said he'd been waiting at my apartment complex since 7 a.m., refusing merchants' offers to wait indoors because he feared missing me. He developed pneumonia at the hospital, nearly dying, torn between fury and heartache. I later asked if he regretted it. He simply smiled. Between death and losing you, I'll choose death every time. Ed kept choosing me. So I chose to marry him, traversing over 1,000 kilometers from north to south. Now they tell me he'd been entangled with Lily Morrison since those desperate days of reconciliation. Until last week, I'd chalked it up to the 7-year itch. Ma'am, you all right? The cab driver eyed me anxiously through the rearview mirror. I touched my face, surprised to find tears. Just moved by a film. I murmured, staring at the passing scenery. The private investigator fidgeted. We had to rush the investigation. MS. Carter. Legally, we couldn't access hotel surveillance. I nodded bitterly, transferring the promised $10,000. Upon receiving payment, he slipped me another lead. At Wright Group's headquarters, I studied Sebastian Wright's profile while waiting. Cambridge graduate, Goldman Sachs alum, took over family business at 28, doubling profits within years, a competent heir through and through. The office door swung open. Seb entered with artfully tousled hair, his tie askew beneath a razor-sharp jawline. An assistant immediately relieved him of his cashmere coat. When our eyes met, his vulpine gaze triggered unexpected unease. Handsome yet predatory, the kind of charm that explained infidelities. Abigail Carter, I presume? He lounged across from me, cutting to the chase. My assistant mentioned this concerns my wife. Your wife is carrying my husband's child. Impossible. Seb's knuckles whitened on the armrest despite his casual tone. Lily's devout. She volunteers at orphanages. Donates to women's shelters, wouldn't harm a soul. I arched an eyebrow. Sunlight fractured through the blinds, illuminating his heaving chest. She's been making monthly donations to the International Children's Fund too. He added smoothly. Been abroad these past months. Mr. Right? I slid the ultrasound report across the desk. Corporate records showed he'd been establishing U.S. operations until last month. The Wrights had lived separately for years. The prenatal report showed Lily Morrison was 3 months into her first trimester. Seb Wright stared at the document with unreadable darkness in his eyes. Having achieved my purpose, I stood to leave when he suddenly called out mockingly, "Abby, since my wife is carrying your husband's child, perhaps you should have an affair with her husband?" I turned back incredulously. The fox-eyed man smirked, calculations gleaming behind his lashes. 3 days later, I visited the city's largest orphanage where young volunteers swarmed. Lily stood out in her luxurious mink coat, surrounded by children. She gently washed a shivering boy's hands, his threadbare jacket fluttering in the wind. When his grimy palms smeared her coat, she simply comforted him. A girl reported finding a frozen stray dog behind the building. Lily immediately wrapped the carcass in her coat for burial. From my vantage point, I watched the serene woman with her loosely pinned hair clasp her hands in prayer. Volunteers gushed. "You donate yearly and still do hands-on charity work. Even animals receive your kindness. MS. Morrison's Buddhist faith compels her good deeds." Another added. Lily paused before responding gently. "Kindness should come from the heart, not religious obligation." The crowd praised her saintly nature, one noting, "Your baby will surely thrive with such a virtuous mother." Blushing, Lily cradled her stomach. "Will your husband join us today?" someone asked. "Of course." She smiled. "Like every year. Ed will celebrate the children's birthdays with me." My steps faltered. Checking my phone's calendar, I dialed with trembling fingers. Ed answered instantly, warmth coating his voice. "Abby? Everything all right? Are you delivering New Year gifts to clients now?" I forced calmness. That tradition's important for maintaining professional relationships. He soothed. "I'll come home right after. Be good, darling." Disconnecting, I texted Seb as a familiar car bearing my birthday license plate entered the orphanage. Ed emerged carrying an enormous cake in toy crates, retrieving candied hawthorn skewers from the passenger seat. My blood turned to ice. One for the grown-up, one for the kid. Lily smiled gently. Children chirped around her like excited sparrows. A boisterous crowd including volunteers flooded into the room. I followed them inside, lingering near the corner. Ed sat at the head of the table, his arm possessively draped around Lily's shoulders as he murmured, "I told you not to volunteer here after we found out about the baby. You never listen. Always making me worry." The orphanage director chuckled. "You should know your own wife by now, Ed. She's got a heart of gold, can't bear seeing these kids go without." A young volunteer teased. "So Mr. Harper, you hoping for a boy or girl?" I wanted to scream that Ed hated children. Back when we first married, he'd insisted on remaining child-free, even when I showed him adorable baby videos or coworkers' family photos. He never wavered. Now he sat there smiling like some doting father-to-be. "I don't care about gender," Ed declared. "I'll love any child Lily gives me." "Of course. You'd love anything coming from Lily." The room erupted in knowing laughter. My vision blurred with rage. Witnessing this betrayal in person felt 10 times worse than seeing those damning text messages. All the fury I'd swallowed that night came roaring back. White hot and uncontrollable. Trembling violently, I shoved through the crowd. "You cheating bastards. Both of you." The color drained from Ed's face as he froze mid-laugh. I lunged at Lily, yanking her hair until her scalp showed pale through the strands. "Home-wrecking slut." "And you," I spat at Ed. "Disgusting adulterer." 2 sharp slaps echoed as I struck Lily. She shrieked, clawing at my wrists. "Ed, get this crazy bitch off me." Nearby volunteers moved to intervene. But when one man tried pushing me, Ed suddenly snapped, punching the would-be rescuer square in the jaw. Back off! Ed roared, eyes wild. Nobody touches my wife. The room stilled in confusion. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Wait, whose wife? Is Lily actually the mistress? My heel slipped on smashed cake frosting. As I fell, Lily tumbled safely into Ed's arms. I lay sprawled on the floor, hand instinctively covering my abdomen. Warm wetness seeped through my fingers. Someone screamed. Oh God, is she miscarrying? Through fading consciousness, I saw Ed's panicked face rushing toward me. When I woke in the hospital, he sat slumped at my bedside. Red-rimmed eyes met mine as he buried his face against my shoulder, sobbing. Abby, I'm sorry. He held me tightly, voice trembling. We can have another child. I pushed his head away, shrugging off his embrace. Ed Harper. What's with the tears? Or should I say, the performance? My tone dripped with icy contempt. Ed looked wounded by my sharpness. Post-college, I'd married my first love while others job hunted. Everyone envied my charmed life, doting parents, affluent husband, smooth sailing existence. This was the first time I'd ever spoken so venomously to anyone. My fingers curled into fists. You made your choice clear when I fell. Ed flinched, scrambling to explain. I didn't know you were pregnant. Lily didn't expect you to attack her. Didn't expect the lawful wife to drag her by the hair? I cut in coldly. His lips pressed into a white line. Since when? A year. Ed knelt dramatically. I swear, Abby, that child isn't mine. It was just a momentary weakness. I'll end it. My laugh sliced through his theatrics. How noble, claiming another man's bastard publicly. The silence thickened. Panicked. He blurted, I'll make her terminate. I closed my eyes. Keep it. I've already tasted a mother's grief. His face twisted with guilt, the exact reaction Seb and I needed. I banished Ed after 2 days. Your face makes me vomit. I told him. Stay if you want me starving. He shuffled out, glancing back repeatedly like some tragic hero. No one knew about my clinic visit before the orphanage. The doctor's congratulations still echoed. But this ill-timed pregnancy disgusted me. A child carrying Ed's DNA? Unthinkable. That's why I'd messaged Seb beforehand. His people blended into the crowd perfectly. Lily's precious charitable reputation would shatter Ed's interference simply accelerated our plans. 3 birds with 1 stone, sparing me further pretense of marital harmony. Like the ocean floor before a tsunami strikes. When the time comes, the waters will surge and erupt, leaving no one untouched. At 3 p.m., I completed my hospital discharge procedures. A nurse asked, Why are you alone? Where's your husband? They'd witnessed Ed's attentive care during my previous days here. I smiled, probably busy handling his mistress sex scandal. The nurse stared at me in shocked embarrassment. Without waiting for her response, I left for the apartment my parents bought me before marriage. Soon after settling in, the orphanage surveillance footage spread like wildfire through our mutual social circle. Under Seb's orchestration, it quickly made local headlines. In our modern society where marital tensions run high, the story of a legal wife's miscarriage caused by confronting her husband's mistress became instant news. My face was blurred, while Ed and Lily's features appeared in crystal clear HD. Netizens immediately doxed them. Finally, they're exposing the perpetrators' faces instead of the victims. That man's company partnered with ours last quarter. He constantly bragged about loving his wife during negotiations, wouldn't even let female colleagues approach. Thought he was devoted? What a joke! Lily's social media persona as spiritual philanthropist unraveled under scrutiny. How's your Buddha feel about home wrecking? Did you get divine permission before sleeping with married men? Her charity videos show orphans in threadbare jackets while she wears designer furs, pure performance art. Within hours, #phonyphilanthropist trended nationwide. A troll commented, Doesn't the mistress have her own husband? At Sebastian Wright, the billionaire replied minutes later, divorced. Ed chose this moment to post, I apologize for occupying public attention. MS. Morrison and I met last year. I betrayed my marriage and wronged my wife, for which I deeply apologize. Last year? A netizen countered, posting their college-era kissing photos. Try 3 years ago. Ed's statement disappeared instantly, intensifying the backlash. Seb texted, satisfying? When I'd left his office earlier, he'd blocked my exit asking, do you know the quickest way to destroy someone? Abby? Is exposing infidelity then letting him elope with his mistress really enough? Leaning against his mahogany desk, loosening his tie with calculated nonchalance, he continued, men grieve briefly after divorce. Time erases everything. Soon he'll enjoy everything you sacrificed with his lover. Meeting his sharp gaze through designer glasses. I'd reconsidered reputation, power, status, wealth, and lost love? Precisely. He'd snapped his fingers. The first 4 matter most. Why settle for destroying romance? He should lose everything. Proper tribute to your betrayed love and fraudulent marriage. Now reading Seb's latest text. I replied, immensely satisfying. His final office words echoed in my mind, let's make them lose it all, gradually. The cruel smirk playing on his lips sent a chill down my spine. What kind of man could double his company's profits within a year? The cutthroat world of business made marital deception look like child's play. Edward Harper was drowning in quicksand now. Though his startup had seen recent success, it couldn't compare to the century-old Wright Group conglomerate that kept snatching projects from him. His carefully crafted image as a devoted husband lay in tatters, replaced by the undeniable stench of a deceitful playboy. My social circle had turned against him overnight. Birds of a feather flocked together. The society matrons sniffed, forbidding their husbands from associating with Ed. No one wanted to risk becoming the next fool holding divorce papers. Even our longtime investors were quietly withdrawing support. Moonlight streamed through the window as I stared at the flash drive containing Harper Group's confidential data downloaded from Edward's own computer during one of his countless late nights at the office. He'd never imagined his doting wife would breach his systems. Sending these files to Sebastian Wright would be the kill shot, triggering financial collapse from which Ed could never recover. My trembling finger hovered over the send button when my phone buzzed. A stranger's message popped up, Lily Morrison's profile photo showing a man's broad hand resting on her pregnant belly. I never wanted to wreck your marriage. Her caption read, but you pushed me too far. Who cares about morality or reputation? We should follow our hearts. I recognized that hand instantly. Our wedding band still gleamed on its ring finger. All remaining hesitation evaporated. How many lies could one man tell? Edward must have thought me a naive fool all these years. With steady fingers now, I forwarded every incriminating file to Seb. Let the corporate titans battle it out, this war wasn't mine to fight. Lily's messages became a torrent, then grainy hotel room photos timestamped during Edward's business trips. Each vulgar image strengthened my resolve. Idiot. I muttered. Don't you realize you're sending me evidence of your adultery? These could strip Ed of half his assets and then some. The messages disappeared seconds later, but my screenshots were already safe in the cloud. I booked the next flight home. My parents had seen the scandalous headlines with blurred photos they instantly recognized as their daughter. Their frantic calls went unanswered until I stood at baggage claim. Snowflakes dusting my wool coat. The sole penthouse, my premarital gift from Edward with ironclad legal protections, had fetched enough for 3 lifetimes. My lawyer served divorce papers that same afternoon. Northern winters bit sharper than southern ones. Mom's station wagon idled outside arrivals. Red lanterns swaying above streets filled with festive tunes. They never mentioned the elephant in the room. Just kept asking if I wanted dumplings or hot pot. That night, I slept soundly in my childhood bedroom for the first time in years. Dawn's insistent ringtone shattered the peace, the beginning of a new era where Edward Harper's lies held no power over me. My attorney informed me that Edward Harper disagreed with the divorce. I yawned, fine. File the lawsuit then. The media scandal still favors public sympathy toward me. This should be straightforward. I saw Edward again 2 weeks later. Our family reunion for Lunar New Year celebrations turned particularly lively this year. While shopping for frozen persimmons and smoked sausages with my parents, we spotted Edward lingering at our neighborhood gate. Time folded itself, 3 years rewound. Same season. Same location. Same broken man radiating remorse. These past weeks had been eventful. The Harper Group had been crushed by Wright Corporation's maneuvers to near bankruptcy, frozen assets, severed capital chains, unpaid salaries. Even Ed's last remaining property got auctioned off by me. Seb was right, true suffering begins when one loses everything. Ed staggered toward me but was blocked by my 6 feet 3 inches father roaring, "Get lost before I rearrange your face." The man looked haggard with overgrown stubble, visibly thinner. Seb's vengeance proved merciless. My mother tugged at Dad's sleeve, urging us home. At our doorstep, Ed stood trembling before me, fists clenching and unclenching. "Abby," he sank to his knees on the icy porch, snow crunching beneath him. I lied. "Lily, she's my childhood neighbor. When bullies picked on me for being short, she protected me." Later I developed feelings. But her family moved away. We reconnected senior year. She claimed her marriage was loveless, that her husband abused her emotionally. She talked about suicide. I couldn't let that happen. "That kiss meant nothing, I was only thinking of you. The baby was an accident. Just once during that business trip." She kept sending ultrasound images. I couldn't let her terminate it. I planned to raise the child separately and have our own baby afterward. I hid the truth at the hospital fearing you'd leave me. "Abby, I've always loved you." Lily was just a teenage fantasy. "She's had the abortion now. Let's start over." His pleading eyes locked on mine. After a prolonged silence, I stated coldly, irrelevant. "Ed, remember your hospital vows? Even your oaths were lies. Which part of the sob story is true? You've brainwashed yourself believing these fabrications. I can't trust someone built on deception." Every forgiven night would choke me with disgust. Our 3rd anniversary night, I checked your phone. Ed paled, trembling violently as memories surfaced. You called her Lily. She called you little brother. Those annual client gifts were covers for your rendezvous, playing house with her publicly. Just once? Please. Your actions always prioritized her while mouthing "I love you." Can't have both. Sign the papers and disappear. He left, but not entirely. Days later, I noticed the car parked in our lot, engine perpetually running, frost coating its windows. On the 3rd midnight, the building superintendent pounded our door, that idiot's carbon monoxide poisoning himself with a charcoal grill in there. My parents rushed the half-frozen man to ER. Turns out Ed had kept the sedan idling 24/7 in -30 degrees Fahrenheit weather, heater blasting until the fuel tank sang requiem. Now Ed was completely broke, unable to afford gas or hotel stays. To keep warm, he bought the cheapest coal. The cramped car filled with carbon monoxide, even with windows cracked. When Mom asked if I'd visit the hospital, I declined, requesting they bring divorce papers instead. Will he sign? He will. We understood each other. My absence would convey finality. I was slurping noodles when Seb's text lit up my phone. "Divorced yet?" "Not yet. Close. Want to know what happened to the other one?" His voice crackled through the phone. Since leaving, Seb had become my grim newsfeed. Honestly, I appreciated it. Without his help, I'd have simply divorced Ed and walked away with a settlement. Ruining his company and industry reputation? Never could have managed that. Go on. Your husband demanded she abort the baby. She fled instead. Puzzled, I wondered, was Lily actually serious about Ed? Seb snorted. When a woman's reputation implodes, she clings to the last man entangled with her. That's your husband. Plus those charity funds? The millions she donated in her name were actually Right Group's relief supplies. She and that orphanage director pocketed every cent, not a penny reached the kids. My lawsuit's already filed. Now she can't risk terminating the pregnancy. Next morning, my parents delivered the divorce papers. Ed's signature sprawled drunkenly across the page. Mom sighed. Thank God he signed. We were ready to fight tooth and nail today. Turned out Ed barely survived the carbon monoxide poisoning. Brain damage left him partially paralyzed. Condemned to a bedridden existence. When he awoke to my absence, nurses said he wept uncontrollably. Mom confronted him bedside. You're half crippled now. Why chain our Abby down? If you ever loved her, let her find happiness. Her words struck home. His trembling hand scrawled consent. Seb kept morbid updates coming. Ed and Lily's fates were sealed when we first partnered. Lily dodged authorities until delivering a boy, only to be immediately arrested. Ironclad evidence earned her life imprisonment. The infant went to city orphanage. Ed's mother initially tended him, but resentment festered. Retirement years spent wiping her son's bedsores? Within months, his back ulcerated. Want to hear how grotesque Ed's become? Seb prattled during our call. I finally snapped. Don't you corporate types have meetings? Why obsess over ex-rivals? He paused, uncharacteristically hesitant. Just wondering. After all this, do you still believe in love? Of course. Love's precious and rare. Maybe I'll never find it. But it exists. Sunlight pierced through drapes, warming my face. The storm had passed. The sun was finally shining.